I think the broad changes the digital economy is bringing that directors should be aware of are probably two things. Firstly, the social change that we're experiencing. We have a whole new generation of people who are actually digital natives, so they're growing up with digital. For them, using digital tools is absolutely what they think of doing intuitively, where for many people who are directors running companies now, these skills have been acquired during their lifetime. In the old world, we very much learnt technological skills in the office, where we learnt word processing, spreadsheets and the like. But the new generation have those skills as they come into the workplace and are much more advanced in their understanding of them and what opportunities lie with them. The second area that I think is both a risk and an opportunity is that the digital world is more immediate and more complex. Things happen a lot quicker. The time where we would be able to respond, perhaps measured in days, has been reduced down to hours or minutes. And organisations are also expected to be far more transparent. And knowing what to say to a wide range of questions in very short periods of time is by definition complex. And a lot more planning needs to go into how organisations position themselves to their most important stakeholders. And by that I mean their customers, their partners, their investors, and of course their staff. I think leadership in a digital age requires slightly different behaviours, and I think one of the big shifts is that business leaders are normally very good at being rational, analysing data, understanding what insights can be used to business advantage, and obviously applying that to drive a successful commercial strategy. But the digital world also requires, I think, a high degree of emotional intelligence, what we sometimes call the EQ to go with the IQ. And particularly if you want engaged employees, which arguably are one of the biggest brand differentiators now, you need to be able to relate to them, provide them with updates, ask them for their help and their input in order to run organisations which fundamentally have different cultures. I think the digital world is changing culture, changing expectation, and I think the challenge for directors is responding to that. Personally, I think it's an opportunity, not a risk. But we do have to sort of operate out of our comfort zone, embrace these new skills and understand how best to channel them to drive our businesses for success. Different generations have completely different views on the notion, say, of privacy. For many people in my generation, we are somewhat uncomfortable about the amount of information that can be accessed through, say, a Google search on us, and we've seen some high-profile casualties, such as I think the director of the security services having photos of him on holiday posted on websites, and that being called as a sort of a lapse of judgment on his part. Whether or not that is the case or not is probably beyond the scope of this discussion. But I think what we have to understand is we all create a digital image. Everything we say can easily be accessed. Most things are but a couple of Google searches away. And therefore I think directors need to be quite circumspect and considered in what they say, but they can't use that as an excuse of just pulling up the drawbridge and saying nothing, because I think the generation that is coming through expects more openness, more transparency, more authenticity in how you communicate. And I think that the challenge really is finding the safe intersection between the corporate voice and the personal voice. I think if you operate with a corporate voice, you don't convince people, you don't engage with them, you seem to be removed from the day-to-day reality of their life. And if you operate with your own personal opinion that doesn't really sort of sit squarely in line with the corporation, while you may come across as a good person, quite empathetic, you're unlikely to motivate people. So it's really that safe intersection, I think, between the corporate and the personal, and then using all the channels available to communicate those views, be it through Facebook, through Twitter, through LinkedIn, through your own social media platforms. I mean, I think the great opportunity for any business is you can easily set up a website and share information about what you do, what you're trying to do to improve your service or your products to all the people who are interested. And building up a good follower base on Twitter, for example, is something that's relatively straightforward to do, but provides a great update to all the people who have a vested interest in you and what you're doing. When you make the commitment to communicate regularly with your stakeholders, you've got to keep that going. And I believe empowerment's a good tool. If we take the example of my own company, Sermelo, what we do is we actually share the responsibility of putting a new blog posting up once every sort of 10 days to 2 weeks. And we have a clearly defined rota of responsibility on that. And with our Twitter feed, we actually, again, want to make sure that we're saying something interesting and compelling every day. So again, we have organised a rota of responsibility, and obviously these can be swapped between individuals, you know, as business commitments shift. But I think it's that commitment to crossing the line and then maintaining some interesting dialogue. One of the big challenges of any business is when you're busy, things slip, and I think it's trying to find ways to make sure that they carry on a consistent manner, because I think we judge people far more now on behaviour as well as what is being said. And I think that if you do embrace the world of social media, which I think is a great thing to do, you've got to keep demonstrating you're committed to it. And that really, I think, gives clients a good indication, or customers a good indication of the type of organisation you are, and shows some of your personality. As I said before, the emotional side of what a business is about, its culture, how it tackles things, what it's trying to do to differentiate itself. These are all things that are best demonstrated, not just through words, but through actions.